I need to give some background about our relationship first. I, 22F, met Henry, 25M, in my junior year of high school when he was a senior. He was the typical popular guy, captain of the football team, friends with everyone, always the center of attention. I was completely opposite, quiet, always studying in the library, and barely had any friends. Our paths crossed when his math teacher threatened to kick him off the football team if he didn't improve his grades. The teacher suggested he get a tutor, and somehow he ended up asking me. At first, I was skeptical because popular guys like him usually just wanted someone to do their homework. But Henry was different. He actually wanted to learn and would spend hours practicing problems. During these tutoring sessions, we discovered we had a lot in common despite our different social circles. He loved the same books I did but never told anyone because it wasn't cool. I found out he was actually really smart but struggled with numbers. We started dating after 3 months of tutoring when he finally got an A in math. Everyone was shocked when we got together. His friends couldn't understand why he would date the quiet bookworm. My few friends warned me that guys like him only dated girls like me as a joke. But Henry proved everyone wrong. He stood up for me when his friends made comments, sat with me in the library during lunch, and even joined the book club I was part of. When he graduated, everyone said our relationship wouldn't last. He was going to work in construction while I stayed in high school. But we made it work. He would drive back to see me every weekend, help me with college applications, and supported my dream of becoming an architect. The past 5 years weren't perfect, but we handled everything together. When he got promoted to construction supervisor 2 years ago, the job required him to stay at different construction sites during weekdays. It was hard, but we adjusted. I focused on my architecture studies during weekdays and we spent weekends together. This Monday was Henry's birthday. He always celebrates for 2 days because his parents were divorced when he was young and he used to have separate celebrations with each parent. I spent weeks planning everything. I saved up for my part-time library job to buy him the latest gaming console he wanted. I made a scrapbook filled with tickets from every movie we watched, photos from all our dates, and little notes he wrote me over the years. I also cooked his favorite lasagna from scratch, following his mom's secret recipe that she specially shared with me. He seemed so happy with everything. He kept hugging me and saying how lucky he was to have me. He played with the console for hours and went through every page of the scrapbook, laughing at old memories. When he left for work on Tuesday night, he kissed me goodbye and promised to call when he reached the construction site. Yesterday evening, I was studying for my final exams when he called. I was excited because he usually doesn't call on weekdays unless it's important. But as soon as I answered, I knew something was off. He was talking really fast and seemed nervous. Then he casually mentioned he was going on a ski trip tomorrow with his friend Steve. I thought he was joking at first. Henry knows I have my final exams next week. These are important exams that will affect my graduation and future job prospects. I've been studying for months and he's seen how stressed I've been. But he wasn't joking. When I asked why he didn't tell me earlier, he said he booked the trip weeks ago when we had that big fight about Jessica, his female coworker. The fight happened because I saw some messages between them that seemed inappropriate. She would send him selfies asking if she looked good in her work outfit. He would compliment her and use emojis he never uses with anyone else. When I confronted him about it, he got really angry and said I was being insecure and paranoid. He said Jessica was just a friend who needed advice because she was new to construction work. We didn't talk for a week after that fight. He finally apologized and promised to maintain professional boundaries with her. According to Henry, he booked this ski trip during that week when we weren't talking. He claims he wasn't sure if his leave would be approved, so he didn't mention it. But that makes no sense. He had so many chances to tell me. We spent his entire birthday together just 2 days ago. What makes it worse is that Julie, Steve's girlfriend, knew about this trip all along. Julie and I became friends because we were both dating best friends. We often did double dates and she would come to me for relationship advice. Finding out she kept this secret hurts almost as much as Henry's lie. I called Julie last night after Henry's announcement. She broke down crying and admitted she knew. Apparently, Henry made her and Steve promise not to tell me. She said she felt terrible every time we met but didn't want to break Henry's trust. She also mentioned that Henry seemed really excited about this trip and kept saying it would be epic. Now Henry keeps texting saying I should plan something fun while he's away. He knows I can't. My exams start next week and these aren't regular tests. They're my final architecture exams that will determine if I graduate. He's seen all my study materials spread across my room. He knows how important this is for me. He's leaving tomorrow morning for 10 days. Since his call, I haven't replied to any of his messages. He keeps sending texts saying I'm being dramatic and that it's normal for couples to do things separately. He says I'm making a big deal out of nothing because he planned this during a time when we weren't even properly together. But we were together enough for him to spend 2 days accepting birthday gifts from me. Gifts that cost me months of savings and hours of effort. He sat there letting me tell him how much I love him while knowing he was leaving. I feel so confused and hurt. My best friend thinks there's more to this trip than he's telling me. She thinks he didn't book it during our fight because Steve and Julie weren't even in town that week. She suspects he planned it recently and made up the story about booking it earlier. I don't know what to do. Should I break up with him? Is this a sign that he doesn't respect me or our relationship? 5 years is a long time to throw away, but lying about something like this feels like a huge betrayal. Why couldn't he just be honest with me? I'm sitting here surrounded by exam notes but can't focus on studying. Everything reminds me of him. The gaming console is still on my TV stand. The scrapbook is on the coffee table. Even the leftover lasagna in my fridge feels like a mockery now. Update 1: These past 2 weeks have been the hardest of my life. After Henry called to tell me about the ski trip, I didn't respond to any of his messages. He called multiple times from the airport the next morning, even leaving voicemails saying I was being childish by giving him the silent treatment. I needed space to process everything, but what happened next made me realize I needed much more than just space. The day after he left, I was trying to study when Julie showed up at my apartment. She was crying so hard she could barely speak. At first, I thought something had happened to Steve or Henry, but the truth was much worse. She confessed that Henry had lied about when he booked the trip. He didn't book it during our fight weeks ago, he booked it just last week. But that wasn't even the worst part. Julie found out that Jessica, the female coworker I had been worried about, was also on this trip. She discovered this because Steve had left his phone unlocked while taking a shower and Julie saw their group chat. There were messages about planning activities, and Jessica was in all of them. The trip wasn't just Henry and Steve, it was a group of people including Jessica. I felt physically sick. Henry had not only lied about when he booked the trip but also about who was going. All those times he said I was paranoid about Jessica, all his promises about maintaining boundaries with her, were just lies. Julie showed me some of the group chat screenshots she managed to take. Jessica and Henry were planning to share ski equipment and take lessons together since they were both beginners. I was so upset that I called Henry's parents. They've always treated me like their own daughter. His mom would call me regularly to share recipes and ask about my studies. She even helped me plan his birthday surprises. But when I called her that day, something felt off. She seemed uncomfortable and kept trying to end the call. After I pressed her about the trip, she finally broke down and admitted something that shattered my heart even more. Jessica had been joining their family dinners for the past month. Every Sunday when I was busy studying for finals, Henry would bring Jessica to his parents' house. His mom said she thought I knew about it and was okay with it because Henry told them I was too busy with exams to join family dinners. I couldn't focus on studying after learning all this. My mind kept creating images of Henry and Jessica having dinner with his family, sitting where I used to sit, probably laughing about how I had no idea. My final exams started that week. I had studied for months, but my concentration was completely gone. I managed to pass, but my grades were nowhere near what I had hoped for. Throughout the week, Henry kept posting Instagram stories from the trip. I told myself not to look, but I couldn't help it. In almost every story, Jessica was right there next to him. There were videos of them learning to ski together, falling in the snow laughing, having dinner with the group. Steve and the others were always somewhere in the background, but Henry and Jessica were always paired up. What hurt most was seeing her wearing his extra jacket, the one I got him last Christmas. He had told me he couldn't find it when packing, but there it was, on Jessica. They looked so comfortable together, like they had been doing this forever. There was one story where they were having hot chocolate, and she wiped some off his face. The casual intimacy of that moment made me sick. Yesterday, Henry finally returned from the trip. He came straight to my apartment like nothing was wrong, carrying a small gift shop souvenir, a snow globe with 2 skiers inside. The irony was painful. When I confronted him about everything I knew, the real booking date, Jessica being there, the family dinners, he got defensive and angry. He said I was making everything bigger than it needed to be. According to him, Jessica was just a friend who happened to be on the same trip. He claimed he lied about the booking date because he knew I would create drama like I was doing now. When I asked about her wearing his jacket, he said it was cold and he was just being nice. The family dinners were harder for him to explain away. He tried to justify it by saying his parents really liked Jessica because she's also in construction and understands his work life. Then he said something that hurt more than anything else. He said I never showed interest in his work, so he found someone who did. That was a complete lie. I always asked about his projects, tried to learn about construction terms, and even did some of my architecture assignments based on his work sites. But he would always give short answers and change the subject. Now I wonder if he was keeping that part of his life separate on purpose, creating a space where Jessica could fit in. Henry is currently staying at his parents' house. He keeps calling and texting, saying we need to talk properly. His mom called yesterday too, trying to mediate. She said I should forgive Henry because he's a good guy who just made a mistake. She kept emphasizing that Jessica is just a family friend who shares their interest in construction. She even suggested I try to be more involved in Henry's work life, as if this was somehow my fault. I haven't responded to any of them. Every time I think about those family dinners, about them welcoming Jessica while I was studying to build a future with Henry, I feel sick. Julie is the only person I'm talking to right now. She feels guilty for not telling me sooner and has been bringing me food since she knows I'm not eating properly. Something feels very wrong about this whole situation. My gut tells me there's still more I don't know. Maybe I'm not being paranoid this time either. P.S. Thank you for all the supportive comments on my original post. I read every one of them but couldn't bring myself to reply. Your stories about similar experiences helped me feel less alone. Update 2: the truth finally came out, and it's worse than I imagined. Last week, everything exploded when Steve found out Julie had cheated on him with her coworker. Their breakup was messy in public. Steve posted about it on social media, and Julie retaliated by exposing everyone's secrets, including Henry's. Julie sent me all the screenshots of conversations between Henry and Steve from the past 3 months. There were hundreds of messages. Reading them felt like watching my whole relationship crumble in real time. Henry and Jessica didn't just happen to be on the same ski trip, they've been dating for 2 months. The messages showed how it started. Jessica joined their construction company 3 months ago. Henry was assigned to train her. Soon they started having lunch together, then after work drinks. Steve's messages kept warning Henry to be careful because he had a girlfriend, me, but Henry would brush it off saying they were just friends. But 2 months ago, things changed. There were messages of Henry telling Steve how Jessica was different from other girls. How she understood the pressures of his job. How they could talk for hours about construction projects. He told Steve that being with her felt easy because they were from the same world, unlike me who was always busy with architecture books. The ski trip was actually their idea. They planned it together and invited others to make it look innocent. All those late nights he claimed to be working? They were dates. The messages showed them planning dinners, watching movies, even spending weekends together when he told me he was at construction sites. What hurt most was discovering his parents knew everything. They didn't just know, they encouraged it. Jessica's father owns the construction company Henry works for. His parents saw this as a perfect opportunity for Henry's career. There were messages about how his mom loved having Jessica at family dinners because she was more outgoing than me. How his dad thought Jessica would be better for Henry's future in construction. The screenshots showed Henry telling Steve his plan. He was going to wait until after my final exams to break up with me. He said he didn't want to affect my studies and seem like the bad guy. When Steve asked about my birthday gifts, Henry joked about accepting them one last time because he felt guilty. He even sent laughing emojis. Reading those messages, I found the line that broke me completely. Henry described me as his high school relationship that he had outgrown. He told Steve how Jessica made him realize he needed someone more on his level. 5 years of love, trust, and memories, reduced to just a phase he needed to move past. I sent these screenshots to his mom, hoping she would at least feel bad about how they all deceived me. Her response showed their true colors. She replied saying I should have tried harder to be interested in Henry's life instead of always studying. She said Jessica brings out a better side of Henry, and maybe this was for the best. His dad messaged too, telling me not to show these screenshots to anyone because it could affect Henry's position at work. He wasn't concerned about how their son hurt me, he was worried about Henry's job with Jessica's father. The same job they used to justify all their lies. The friend group we shared has split. Some took Henry's side, saying relationships sometimes end and people move on. Others were disgusted by how he handled everything. A few girls from our group told me they had seen Henry and Jessica together at restaurants but assumed I knew since his family seemed so comfortable with her. I haven't responded to any of Henry's attempts to contact me since Julie sent those screenshots. He tried to explain, saying things with Jessica just happened and he didn't know how to tell me. He claimed he still cared about me and wanted to remain friends. As if that would somehow make his betrayal okay. The worst part is realizing how many moments were lies. That time he was too sick to attend my cousin's wedding? There are pictures of him and Jessica at a restaurant that same day. The weekends he said he had to work? He was taking her to places we used to go together. Even his birthday celebration with me feels tainted now, knowing he was already planning his future with someone else. I've deleted all our photos and packed away his things. The gaming console, the jacket I bought him last Christmas, which Jessica wore in so many pictures, the books we used to read together, everything is in boxes. His mom keeps asking me to return the family recipes she shared, as if those belong to them more than the years of trust I invested in their son. P.S. Thank you to everyone who messaged me about similar experiences. You were all right, my gut feeling was trying to warn me all along. Update 3: Life has changed completely since my last update. I accepted an internship offer in a different city, 6 hours away from my hometown. The architecture firm is prestigious, and normally I would have been thrilled, but honestly, I took it mainly to get away from everything that reminded me of Henry. The day I was moving, Henry tried one last time to talk. He showed up at my apartment while my friends were helping me pack. He brought yellow roses, my favorites, the same ones he used to bring when we first started dating. The familiarity of that gesture made me angry. I told him to leave and that if he ever cared about me, he would respect my decision to cut all contact. I've blocked everyone connected to him, except Julie. After her explosive reveal of those screenshots, she lost most of her friends too. Steve turned everyone against her because of her cheating, while Henry's friends hate her for exposing his lies. We've become closer, bonding over our shared experiences of betrayal and loss. She's been helping me sell all his gifts and memorabilia. Whatever money we get, we're planning to donate to a local women's shelter. Last week, Henry's sister Sarah reached out through my work email since I had blocked her everywhere else. She said she felt obligated to tell me that Henry and Jessica are now officially together. They're moving into a luxury apartment near his workplace, one that Jessica's father owns. Apparently, the rent is minimal since her father wants them to save money for their future. Sarah also mentioned that Henry has been promoted to project manager, a position that usually requires at least 10 more years of experience. Everyone knows it's because of his relationship with Jessica, but his family is celebrating it as his achievement. They're calling it a perfect example of how the right partner can elevate your life. The most recent news came through mutual college friends. Henry and Jessica got engaged last week at his parents' house, the same place where I used to help his mom cook Sunday dinners. They had a big party with all their construction colleagues and family friends. His parents are telling everyone their love story, how they met professionally, admired each other's work ethic, and waited to be together properly. It's a convenient narrative that makes everyone look good. Henry isn't the cheater who betrayed his girlfriend of 5 years. Jessica isn't the other woman who went after someone in a relationship. His parents aren't the people who encouraged their son's infidelity because of business connections. They're just a happy couple who found love at work. I'm doing better now, focusing on my internship and future career. My supervisors seem impressed with my work, and there's talk about offering me a permanent position after graduation. The distance from my hometown helps. There are no familiar places here that remind me of Henry, no risk of running into him or his family. Sometimes, late at night, I still miss the 5 years we shared. Not the Henry who lied and cheated, but the boy who sat with me in the library learning math, who supported my dreams of becoming an architect. Then I remember how easily he replaced those memories with lies, how he let me plan his birthday knowing he was leaving, how he watched me study for exams while planning a future with someone else. I haven't dated anyone new. My friends keep trying to set me up, saying it would help me move on. But I'm not ready. For now, I'm focusing on rebuilding my life, my career, and most importantly, my trust in my own judgment. The warning signs were there, I just chose to ignore them because I loved him. To everyone asking why I'm still friends with Julie, yes, she cheated on Steve, and that was wrong. But she chose to make things right by exposing the truth, even though it cost her everything. We both got betrayed by people we trusted completely, so we understand each other's pain. Sometimes, shared trauma creates stronger bonds than years of friendship. Edit, thank you for all the awards and supportive messages. This community helped me stay strong when I felt like giving up. I might not have gotten my happy ending with Henry, but I'm starting to believe that's not the worst thing that could happen to me.